1, 2, 3, let's go.
Wednesday afternoon, hoping you will tune into our show. It's hosted by Cuz.
Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talkshow podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talkshow podcast with Emmy Hikins and
It's
Trevor
me
Gear.
and my brother, Trevor.
In 1898, wrote a book called Futility, 1898. And this book was about a ship called the Titan, which sank in April of the year. This is his book. It sank after hitting an iceberg, and there was great loss of life because there were not enough lifeboats. So that, as I say, was 1898. 14 years later, Titanic sank Titanic in April. Great loss of life, around 1,500 people. I think about 800 survived, but not enough lifeboats. So the actual events sort of mirrored what was written as a story, as a novella, as they would call it, 14 years before. Now, that's a story we have looked at before, but it actually came to my notice when I was looking at this, another story which I think is equally amazing, and I'd like your view on this. Now, you've probably heard of a writer, an American poet called Edgar Allan Poe. He featured in a Beatles song some years ago. But anyway, he was a writer, a literary critic, and so on. And he wrote a book. It was a novel, his only novel out of many poems and other things he wrote. And this book was called The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym. He wrote this in 1838. Keep that date in mind. And anyway, this book talked about a ship being shipwrecked. And there were 4 survivors in a lifeboat. 4 survivors. And week after week went by, and they ran out of food. They didn't have much food with them in the first place. They must have had some water, because you can't drink seawater. But after some weeks, they were desperate, the 4 of them. So they agreed, and I'll ask you in a minute whether you would have agreed to this. They agreed to draw straws to see which one of them would be killed and eaten. So cannibalism was coming into this. Now, this was a novel, okay? And the victim, sadly, was somebody called Richard Parker. Richard Parker, I think it was. And he was duly killed. I don't know how they killed him, but they did survive, just the others, by eating him. I don't know whether they had access to cook anything, who knows, but they ate this guy and they survived. Now that was, as I say, the book, a novel, a story, a non-true story. It was fiction in 1838. Now, 46 years later, when would that be? That was 46 years, well, 1838, that's about 1884, I think it was. One of the most famous coincidences in literary history. Right. In real life, in 1884, the yacht called Mignonette sank, leaving 4 survivors in a lifeboat. Now, this is fact. And I might say these coincidences I'm talking about are all verified facts. They're not urban myths or something like that. They're verified facts. So in real life, 46 years later, after the book was written, the novel was written, 1884, the yacht Mignonette sank, leaving 4 survivors in a lifeboat. After weeks without food, they killed and ate the cabin boy, right? So incredibly similar. Now, I don't know if you remember the name I said of the victim in the Edgar Allan Poe's story was Richard Parker.
Yep.
Now, would you believe this cabin boy's name was Richard Parker?
No
now,
way.
this was 46 years later.
No way.
It's a chilling coincidence, but how can that possibly be explained? Perhaps we can never explain something like that. Is it sort of something happening in the line of time, so that somehow somebody 46 years earlier, Edgar Allan Poe, somehow was given some premonition of a future event, a bit like the Titan and the Titanic? Is that something that could happen? Is there something deeper like that going on? Because how on earth could Edgar Allan Poe have written a story followed to perfection, if that's the word we would use, including the name of the poor guy who was killed and eaten cannibalistically? So that's an incredible one. And my question to you, Cuz, and I know both of us couldn't really answer this with honesty because we're not in that situation, thankfully, but do you think in that situation you could resort to cannibalism?
That's a very.
Could you agree to draw lots and risk being the victim? Could you possibly do that, knowing that otherwise you'll all die anyway?
I think we've had a similar scenario in this.
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor Gear and Emmy Hikins.
The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us. Please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.
Say hello to old Mimi, Dr. Gladys and Rose, three beautiful ladies who join us on our shows. There's one other bro, sometimes joins us on the show. His contribution's thoughtful and smart.